I think I need a reset. I was like kind of going through. I was like, man, I feel like I'm burned out and I can't figure out why. And then I was like, oh, wait a second. Every weekend since September 25th or whatever, we've been gone. That's why I'm burned out and I don't feel like doing anything.
Wah, wah, wah.
That's fair.
Like I just don't I don't have a goal. Like I don't have a fitness goal. I don't want to do anything in the gym. Like I have like nothing. And
I feel that a little bit.
Yeah.
I've been going just because I know that
you and I have been going. Yeah, everywhere I've been, you've been pretty much, other than like my little family vacation for Charlie's birthday and like my birthday weekend.
Shit,
but
next year I'll probably be at that too.
Yeah, you'll be there for those. So outside of 2 weekends, you have been just as slammed as I have. So
yeah, we've all been going. It's just part of life, but it's real. Like that's real life. Having to figure out these little seasons of, damn, I'm really motivated to go to the gym. Damn, I'm not so motivated to go to the gym. I don't really want to do fuck all right now, to be honest. I could just sit here and watch the sun go up and continue to watch it all day and go down.
Yeah. I mean, like I still move throughout the day and stuff. Cause like I'll wake up and like, oh, my traps are sore, my back's sore, my legs are sore. Like I'll still do stuff, but yeah, like, so like I'll do mobility and things throughout the day. I just don't have like a specific goal to work towards. And like, it feels really weird. But I think I'm just going to do full blown like mobility for like 2 weeks straight. Like not even think about like not even have the intention of going to the gym, because then when I do, like something comes up and I miss it or I don't feel like doing it, like then there's like kind of that negative feeling of like, oh shoot, I missed it. So I think I'm just going to go straight up, like no expectations.
I like that.
You'll probably feel fantastic after those 2
so.
weeks too. I think like you just take that intentional 2-week break. It wasn't just because you were too busy. It was because you
like on purpose.
And then and then you take the time, maybe not all of it, but you take the time that you would invest in lifting heavy, and you take that and you focus intentionally on moving mobility. Dude, you're gonna feel pretty wild when you get done with that. I bet.
You've been doing like the same kind of stuff ollie wise for a while though. Like it's repetitive, the same thing pretty much every week. You're just adding weight potentially each week. So it's really easy to get burned out on that type of exercise. I've been there, like because you are doing nothing different. And when you don't have necessarily a goal that is driving you to sit there and do that every day, like I want to win this comp or I want to go to nationals or whatever it is, it's a lot easier to sit there and do the same lifts week to week, week in and week out, with that thought of this is getting me closer to that. I'm gonna place. I'm gonna win nationals or whatever competition you're going to. Same thing as rodeo or any sport. There's a lot of times when I was competitive or competing that I didn't want to go to the gym, but I thought about Logan is working harder than me, or someone down the road's working harder than me. I need to go. That was always fueling my fire. As I've gotten older and as I've stopped competing, I went straight from rodeo after my injury, a few years off, and competitive CrossFit, the same type of competition, high intensity, like something was driving me to go. Now, as I get older, I don't have any athletic or competitive athletic goals. I just want to look good and feel good and be able to go hunting and fishing and get on the spurboard and bucket machine at our schools and not look like an idiot. So it's different. It's a lot easier to burn out if you're doing the same things over and over, which to get better at fitness, you do have to practice those things a lot. You have to do the same things over and over to get better at them and see progress. That being said, I'm at like 6 weeks is my top end on being able to stay interested in something. So I've been really trying to change up my program every 6 weeks, from whether it's hypertrophy to strength and power, do some strength and power, to muscle endurance. Oh, I want to work on some aerobic capacity, just working on different things throughout those programs has kind of helped me stay engaged. So when I was going through and we got back from Australia, I was burnt, dude. I didn't want to do anything. Thinking about working out didn't fire me up at all. I knew I needed to go move to feel better and to get back in the routine of doing business and getting back to work. So I bought a whole new program. I did something totally different than I've ever done. It's 6 weeks long. I'm 3 weeks into it now. And to be honest, this first 2 weeks, dude, was just the principle of going to move to make myself feel better is the only reason I showed up. I did not want to go. And this has been the first week. So we're on Tuesday of this week. So yesterday and today, I felt like, all right, I'm back. I feel good. I'm starting to feel differences from the program. I'm like when I was moving today, I could feel differences in my tension in my feet and how my muscles and ligaments were all recruiting and tendons were recruiting when I was doing a lot of these. I haven't done a lot of plyometric work or any kind of sprint work or anything like that in a long time. So the first 2 weeks of getting back to that, I felt like patting my belly and rubbing my head, like I didn't know felt awkward. And there's the last 2 days I've been like, all right, it's working. The reps are paying off. And that's the cool part about doing the same stuff consecutively for 6 weeks or 8 weeks is you do get to start to feel those differences. And that's what got me hooked on working out in the first place was, damn, this is exciting. I get to see the results every time I show up. They may not be there day to day, but week to week, I'm feeling the differences for sure. Starting to see differences in the mirror. We're 3 weeks in. That's about right. I've been really dialing in my eating, focusing on nutrition, protein big time. Like I've been low on protein, especially when we were in Vegas. And then actually did pretty good in Australia. We ate a lot of good protein there.
Yeah,
but Vegas, traveling, it was tough. And so it's also been fun to see how my body is reacting to movement, good nutrition, 8 hours of sleep a day, being in my own environment. It's coming around, but I went through literally 2 months of just yellow and red recoveries on my Whoop. And it took me, it's been 2 weeks. Like I said, I'm just starting my 3rd week. So 2 weeks of being home to finally reset. I started after a week. I was like, what's wrong with me? Something is up. Like am I dying? This is not good.
Yeah.
But it finally bounces back. So
I feel that.
Yeah.
I was in bed last night by 10 p.m. for the first time in I don't know how long.
I'd been asleep for 2.5 hours at 10 p.m.
Yeah,
bro, I have not been in bed before 10 p.m. since way before Vegas. So I've been really trying to like get back on a sleep schedule because I know like if I can get to bed earlier, I can wake up earlier, and it just kind of sets the day up. And it's just been like this vicious cycle, but like still on the workout, side of things, like ollie lifting is like really deflating too. And so I feel like that is another thing that has kind of like led me to this point is like
how so?
Some weeks the weight moves really good. Like some weeks your nutrition's dialed in, your recovery's dialed in, and you're getting stronger. You're adding weight each week. And then the very next week, the bar barely moves off the ground. And you're like, what is wrong with me? Like, why can't I do this? And so it's frustrating. It's fun. Like that challenge makes it fun because you have to be dialed in. But it's really deflating too. And so like, part of my decision to kind of move towards this mobility thing is I think I'm going to start doing, more drills on my stationary barrel. It's right behind me. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm going to start working on the stationary barrel every day just to explore like how these different mobility moves can affect my on there.
That's cool.
I was like, just the other day was kind of, I broke out a piece of paper while I was on there and just started kind of breaking down like different muscle groups that I'm feeling.
This fool's going to crack back out. Mark my words.
I'm telling you.
I'm telling you. Going to.
Yes,
Yeah. This is how it always starts. This is how it always starts.
I'm hearing this. I can see it right now. Yep. Yeah. Heather is going to be pissed.
She would be. She would be.
Anyway, sorry. I didn't mean to distract you there.
No, you're good. But yeah, just exploring new things really is all I'm moving forward right now.
I think that exploring new things is what helps me when I don't feel like I want to go to the gym and work out. If I'm demoing new people's or new programs that I've written, like Tyler and I have been working on this new bullfighting program right now. And so I've been demoing it and just going through and making sure that workouts are, not super long and seeing how the exercises we've paired together actually fit. And that's like, it's exciting, at least for a few weeks. I'm only a couple weeks in at this point in time, but so far I've been like, man, I'm really excited to go to the gym and go through another day of this. And because I'm starting to get to the spot where we've got enough of it done, I'm giving it to clients. And so I'm able to like talk to them about like, hey, this is why we're doing what we're doing. This is where you should feel it. This is what, because I've walked through, maybe it's not exactly the same. There's some individualization that goes on with individual clients, but it pretty similar format anyway. And so we've been diving into this rate of force development, plyometrics, some of that kind of stuff. And, man, it's a lot of fun. Cool. And it is, I sent him a demo video. We needed a demo video the other day. And I sent Tyler this demo video and I was like, why does this feel so stupid? Like, is this like not right? Is this right? I don't think that this feels dumb. And he was like, he gave me a couple ideas to try. And so it's been kind of frustrating to, you can see an exercise and know scientifically that it is going to benefit the athlete, but then as the strength coach to try to go do it, like it took me like 10 reps before I was like, I think that was it.
That's
And it
important,
was
though.
a working on, yeah, absolutely it is. And we're just working on, and specifically it is a vertical jump with an approach. You look at one of the things that they talked about at coaches conferences, that very rarely in sports, any sport, are you ever just doing a static vertical jump in place. It's always with an approach. You never ever see people practicing vertical jumps or broad jumps with an approach, though. And so we're writing this bullfighting program, and I'm like, oh man, like we should try to come up with some sort of like vertical jump, like with a 2 or 3 step approach, and incorporate that. And so I was
Dude,
working on the vertical jump with
that could
approach, and I was
literally
like, oh,
change the game of bullfighting. I was like
that's what I
having a
think.
I was having a
Yeah.
daydream the other night. I was like, oh, like what if I was a bullfighter? What would I like? What would be the things that I would want to do? Like, what would be like, a freestyle specifically? I was like, what would be like the moves that I would want to pull off and stuff? And that video of Luke has been going viral, and so like like everybody likes jumping over the bulls, and I was like, how could a guy like get more gas in the tank to be able to pull off more jumps like within a fight? Like, is that really realistic? I don't know. Like, is somebody going to jump a bull 4 or 5 times? I don't think that would ever happen. But like to have the ability to,
Maybe though they could.
maybe, yeah, to have the ability to, like, that could literally change the game of freestyle bullfighting.
Yeah, that's what I'm really excited about this program. And I do this anytime I write a new program and like I mean, we've been working on it for about a month, like 4 or 5 days a week. We spend about an hour and a half together every time. And we go through, we spent like one session just on what are we going to do for bullfighters? What is this program even about? What is it? We went through all of the program objectives, goals, how many times a week, who's it for specifically. We came up with that one bullfighter, that's fighting on the weekends, but still wants to train. That's who this, and we spent one. So it's anytime I do that, like, and I go through, I'm like, this is the best program I've ever written, and then hopefully in another 2 or 3 months, I write another program for maybe bareback riders. And I'm like, nope, this is the best program I've ever written. And because we're learning, and we're growing, and our understanding of how the body moves, biomechanics, and then understanding new exercises and those kind of things, we continue to grow in. But so far, this program I've been going through it myself, and it is lit. It is so much fun to go through, and I'm seeing some progress too. Like as far as my numbers are going up, I'm getting stronger, and definitely some coordination gains too with some of these plyometrics and rate of force development stuff. So it's pretty cool.
That's good, man. That's really important to be able to. I think it's very important to be able to demonstrate the things that you're programming, not doing the thing before giving it to someone else makes zero sense to me. And there's a lot of times that, especially when I was a new coach, I would write programs and be like, that's a banger. And I would go do it. And I would be so fucked up from it and realize like I overdid everything, way too much volume, way too many reps. I need to adjust things. So I figured out quickly that a little bit goes a long way, usually, especially for beginning level athletes. So it's really important that you're out there doing the things you write. And I do the same thing, man. Like if I get excited writing a program like you're talking about. So usually let's go try this thing. Let's go see what it feels like. Let's go see what the gains that are happening. And that's how you get to see the progress in yourself. And granted, there are combinations of exercises I've given clients that I haven't done personally together, but I've done each one of those exercises and know how they feel, how to cue them, how to coach them through it. So it's important. It only helps you grow as a coach, which for any coaches listening or anyone that wants to be a coach, you hear all the time, it's not what your coach looks like that matters. It's, how they're there for you. And yeah, to a certain extent. For me, I'm not going to go to a coach that doesn't look like they do what they preach. It makes zero sense to me. As a coach, your number one way to sell what you do is you walking around every day. Like, how many times a day or in a week do you get stopped? And man, what do you do? Like, what do you do in the gym?
Yeah.
Like, you got a head full of gray hair and you look like that. What's going on? I'm like, no, that's just bad genetics, bro. Just bad hair.
It's my absolutely horrible employees is what that is right there.
I don't know if I told
funny.
you guys the other day, a guy walked by me at the gas station. He goes, man, I don't know if you're 45 or 25, but keep doing what you're doing. And I said, I appreciate that.
Right in the middle, bud.
I don't know how to take that, but
right
I
in the middle.
appreciate it.
Nailed it. Oh, that's funny. 25 or 45. Hilarious.
Hey, you were talking about, breaking those calls you're having with Tyler and breaking down really what happens in a bull fighting program. I was thinking today, why don't we just talk about a little bit more in depth the strategies and things that guys and girls can do specifically, not for each event. We'll kind of break it down, rough stock, timed event, and maybe like those events where they do have to get off their horse are a little bit different in the sense of what they would be doing on a program. But what do you guys say? We just we've got about, 20 minutes, something like that. We can break down in depth how people can kind of start not just saying, yeah, you need to squat, you need to bench press, you need to do lunges. Like, why do you do that? Why do we pick those things? And naturally, I think we just start with the rough stock riding because that's our bread and butter, obviously. But what do you, program design wise, right now in general, rodeo athletes are knowing it's important to work out. They know they need to get stronger, faster, more powerful, more stable. How do we do that? Like, when we're sitting there looking at a sport, how do we start picking out what are the important things to do? And I think, I know we're looking at the movements happening from jump to jump, second to second. What is happening during the event with the athlete? How does that relate to a movement outside of the arena, whether it's running, sprinting, changing direction, vertical pulling, horizontal pulling, whatever it is, right? We're looking at the things happening in the event. So for rough stock riding, where do you start at?
I think for me, just like you said, we're going to do an analysis of it's a sport analysis essentially, right? So we have to start there and we have to look at the sport and figure out exactly, whether it's bull riding, saddle bronc riding, bareback riding. And like you said, what are the biomechanics behind, what are they doing? And then outside of just to keep it general, outside of the next thing we would need to do is some sort of analysis on the individual that we're working with and some sort of evaluation. But just to keep it general, we know that all three of those events, strength is going to be important, mobility is going to be important, and then when I start thinking about the strength, obviously the normal movement patterns that we've talked about before, and I'm sure we'll cover again today, but specifically neck strength, right? And we want to think about neck strength, and then I want to really focus on, for all rough stock athletes, timed event guys as well, this probably goes across the board, but we're thinking about like shoulder health and hip health and those kind of things. So really the mobility and the strength focus for me is what we find with all rodeo athletes across the board, is that they are in a huge strength deficit. If you would compare other professional athletes in other sports, same body weight, just because of their lack of training experience and training history. And so the strength portion is that's going to be the biggest bang for our buck initially with rough stock athletes, is the central nervous system adaptations. They're not going to necessarily they're not going to look like Arnold after 6 weeks, but they are going to be moving substantially more weight and moving way more efficiently after 6 weeks, because their central nervous system is adapting, which in turn is going to directly translate to the spur board or to the drop barrel. And they can take those adaptations to the arena.
Absolutely. Nailed that. And something really important to note for anybody out there that's wanting to start a fitness program or is listening to this and taking notes and saying, I'm going to go try some of these things when I get done listening or this week or whatever. You've got to focus on the quality of movement for each of these things. So we're talking about building strength. Yes. But if you've never lifted weights before, or you've never worked out in general, just doing a body weight squat and learning how to master that squat is going to be very beneficial for not just your strength, but the coordination that's happening there when you're actually performing the movement, the mind and muscle connection, getting confident at that ability. So when we do add weight, you are owning the movement and able to get the full range of motion, which is working on that mobility, that strength and that mobility. You're able to, it's hard when you're learning something new. So starting at the beginning, mastering those beginning movements is really, really important for someone listening and just getting going.
Even if you've been an athlete before. Just keep in mind that strength gains are going to stick around for 30 days, give or take a little bit. So 15 years ago, when you were in high school and played football and you were lifting in the high school gym and you remember you were back squatting 250 pounds for 5 reps in high school and you're now 32, we have to go back to the beginning. We have to go. Now, you'll come back, your adaptations, once you get it once, it comes back the second time or third time much faster. But you still have to go back to the basics and make sure that your movement pattern is correct.
Yep.
Hands down. What you got, Paul?
I was just I brought out my little my trusty rusty pad of paper here for my sport analysis or needs analysis of professional bull riders. And so, like, from the sport analysis section, just kind of thinking like when you start to think about what types of exercises I need to have in there, you first need to think about what's actually happening in the sport that I'm trying to improve in. And so, like, I have a 10-second burst of all out effort. The primary movers are going to be hip flexion and hip extension. Secondary movers are going to be hip abduction, or adduction rather, and then like shoulder abduction and adduction. So like that's the core of like what we need to base the things around. Obviously, there's some other things that we would tweak and add in, beyond that, but like that's primarily what we need to be focusing on. So like when we think of our energy system, 10-second burst of all out effort. So if you're
phosphagen and fast glycolysis,
that's where we need to be at when we're thinking about conditioning. We don't need to be running 200 meter sprints or miles. Like, we need to be running short bursts. But yeah, so like, I mean, and then you think about like, what are the strength movements that we need to be doing based off of that? Well, like an eccentric hip flexion for bull riders, because like we're riding the momentum off the kick, so like we're kind of resisting as we're going forward. And then we need a concentric hip extension because we need to be able to set our hips fast back to the bull rope. So like that's where our primary strength should be. So like that's just some of the things that you want to think about.
What would 2 examples be then, right? Yeah, give me an example for if I don't know about flexion and extension. And so what would be 2 examples for movements that you could do there?
Eccentric deadlifts, like really slow deadlifts or even RDLs. For the concentric hip extension, like that fast explosiveness, I like hip thrusts, like barbell hip thrusts. There's several variations we could do with that, but like, the fundamental version of that would be a barbell hip thrust.
I dig that. That's cool. That was really beneficial too, on the information on how anybody can look at a sport and help break it down. That's what a needs analysis is, right? And we're talking about, you need to evaluate the sport, evaluate the athlete. We obviously cannot evaluate the athlete right here and now. So we're just talking about the sport, the things that are taking place during that event. And all you're doing when it's coming to the gym is looking at the things that happen in the arena and saying, what do I need to strengthen in order to make those better?
In a way that's actually going to help you, right? Yeah. Because you can cross the line where you look at the sport and you're like, okay, that's what the sport looks like. So I'm going to recreate the sport in the gym, and I'm going to go and balance as a bull rider. Instead of doing those heavy hip thrusts, I'm going to go balance on a ball with a resistance band in both hands, and I'm going to pretend to do this. And at the end of the day, really the only adaptations that you're going to get there is you're just going to get really good at balancing on a ball. So you're not actually working on your sport or doing anything that is helping your sport in any way, shape, or form. Do not be fooled, no matter who you see doing it or who has told you that is the best way. I am telling you right now, and will stand on this, that is absolutely false, and you are wasting your time. And so instead, maybe break that movement down, just like Paul said, as a bull rider.
That's what I was just going to say.
And do those slow lowering RDLs, and you can pair that in that workout with a heavy explosive type hip thrust. And what you're going to be doing, sure, you don't have your free arm in the air while you're doing the hip thrust, but what you're actually doing is you're building strength that is going to directly translate to the drop barrel and to the arena, to the bulls that you're getting on. That's how you would actually get something out of your time in the gym by breaking the sport down.
Yeah, and the bottom line is most guys don't know how to hinge. You tell them hinge, like on a drop barrel, they have no idea. They are discombobulated. They are not connected mind to muscle. So being able to practice that concept without having to think about the drop barrel, without having to think about getting on a bull, just the concept of hinging, because that concept, no matter where you do it, if you do that, those mechanics, standing on a bull, sitting down, they're going to do the same motherfucking thing. You know,
you're right. You're 100% correct.
You have got to practice the foundation of the movement and then take that to the sport specific practice of the drop barrel. Same thing as bareback riding or even the bull riding. Just because we're squeezing down and adducting the whole time doesn't mean that we're going to go again, squeeze on a big ball and try and ride it around the room. We're going to do adductor raises, abductor raises, some variation of strengthening those muscle groups. And then we're going to go the spur board or the drop barrel and train the patterns for the sport, because now we are strong enough in those muscle areas to do that well. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Though. That was really
and that's exactly right. When I get on a drop barrel, and it's not very often, but like if I go to a school or something and I get on a drop barrel and somebody sees me do it, or I've posted a couple of them online, and they're like, "Oh wow, like you make that look really easy," and I'm like, "Well, because it is easy, you know, like the movement pattern is so ingrained into my central nervous system that like I don't even have to think about it. More or less, I'm letting this thing buck underneath me, and then I'm putting intention behind the things that I'm wanting to improve."
That's so important to hear and to say. I was thinking about in Australia when I was anytime I go get on the bucking machine or the spur out, the what's it called? Spur magic. And I have done that so many times that I could literally do it in my sleep. No problem. I don't have to remind myself to do anything. It just happens. When I was throwing around the idea of getting on that Jersey cow or that bull that was so cute. And I was like, I should probably get on the drop barrel first and have Josh and Paul kind of tell me what to do. Never done this before. So they gave me cues, and I could hinge and I could drive up off my ass because I could adduct, and I understood the movements off of the barrel. I could do them standing, no problem. So when they put me on the barrel, I could do them, and they were like, that looks pretty good. It felt so bad to me because I was so weak in those areas. Yes, I was strong enough to do it, but I was not conditioned for the sport. So I got off, and everything on the inside of my taint is fucking quivering, and all my adductors are like, what did you just do to me? And I'm like,
he's like, my legs are on fire. There's no way in hell I'm doing this.
I'm out. But that makes such a good point that like you're somebody that is trained, not just worked out. You have trained for years for different sports and different things. And still, when it comes to the sport of bull riding, you didn't feel ready. And that makes such a good point that sums up what we're saying is that there is the skill practice, right? And then there's the stuff that happens in the gym. Don't mix the two. What happens in the gym is going to complement the skill practice, but they are not the same thing, nor should they be treated the same way. You have to have both in equal parts. And what I would say is that how much of each you should have is based off of your history. If you're like most bull riders or bareback riders that have spent 97% of their time training just by riding the spur board or the drop barrel, then man, you really need to get in the gym, and we need to lean heavily into that. And you're going to see real improvement on the spur board. And that's where that's the objective behind the gym, is just to complement the work that you're doing. Sure, it is primarily a skill sport. If it was primarily physical, then anybody that's done CrossFit could just hop on a bull or go rope a calf or go do a thing, and they would just do great. It is, yes, they're a huge part of it is the skill and having those movement patterns down. But you can get those movement patterns much quicker and be way more efficient with them once you've trained those movement patterns in the gym. Push, pull, squat, hinge, being able to do those things correctly and being able to move heavy weight eventually there is going to directly transfer. You'll blast through any plateau that you've had in your sport.
Hallelujah.
So,
Mic drop.
You get fired up. Get fired up a little bit.
That's it. Let's touch on timed events, and I want to talk about calf roping and goat tying because they're very similar in the actions that are happening in the event. So we're getting back to just a needs analysis real quick, a sports analysis. We're looking at the sport. Okay, the rider riding their horse, they have pelvic tilt going on. Obviously, when they're riding, they have calf ropers, internal, external rotations of the shoulders while they're swinging their rope. The postural muscles are needing to be stable, keeping the shoulders square while they rope. Once they get that set, we start getting into the dismount. This is going to be the same for pretty much the same for both goat tying and calf roping in sense of hip abduction to get the leg over. We're going to come off and back and single leg dismount to acceleration, going down the rope or going down towards the goat. Athlete is then going to have to either going to get lucky and just have to run a straight line, or they're going to have to react to the animal and have some kind of change of direction in whatever way the animal decides to go to get there. Then they are getting to a squatting and horizontal pull motion when they're flanking calf or goat. In the tie, they are adducting hard with knees to squeeze up, and then they have a quick tie at the end and then a quick little jog back. So squat to horizontal pull, a little bit of hand-eye coordination, but I think that could be obviously not trained the actual tie in the gym, but you could train. There are drills that we could do for sure to increase the perceptual and cognitive ability.
Yeah, that's another skill specific one where in tie down roping and goat tying both, there's so many tools out there. I remember in high school rodeo, you'd walk around all the RVs and the campers and stuff, and there's a girl out there tying her foot with a goat string, 24/7. They're getting that part, outside of the gym,
and they're sport specific.
Yeah.
Especially
absolutely. And so go ahead.
No. I was just going to say, especially the hip mobility portion, right? The tie is what I'm thinking about. If we just look at the tie, they're definitely, like Paul said, they're getting that skill portion outside of the gym, but the mobility that is able to take. I mean, 4 out of 5 clients that I talk to that rope calves, that's one of the things they complain about when they come is they're always like, man, my hips are weak. I have a hard time getting in my flanking or in my tying position or getting down. And once I get down, it's hard for me to get back up, or my hips just ache. And it's the internal external rotation of the femur, just the mobility of at the hips is one of the biggest limiting factors for guys. And I feel like that would be definitely, if you're a goat tire or a tie down roper, working on hip mobility when you're in the gym is something that's definitely going to transfer.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So just breaking that down even further, we start looking at what's happening during the event, going to the gym. So we know that we need to strengthen that lunge pattern for sure. They're constantly in a lunge going down to the calf or the goat. Dropping, landing,
scorpion position.
Yeah.
Well, it's all deceleration. And because what's happened is the horses, the horse's momentum is carrying them off. So as they step down, and more of a sport specific position might be some sort of curtsy lunge or curtsy step down of some kind. But then from there, they're already moving at a really high rate of speed, and they've got to be able to decelerate. And so a lot of what I'm working with my goat tires and calf ropers on is being able to lower the center of mass gravity, and be able to get down to be able to block that calf, right? They're going down the line. They've got to drive that leg into the front of the calf. They've got to be able to block down. And then they can't change direction if they're upright. We've got to be able to get low, and we've got to be able to use, 3-step or 4-step or step decelerations to be able to kind of get low and break it down so that we can then pivot or change direction if need be when we get to the calf or get closer to him. So I think any kind of deceleration drills and for that matter, ankle mobility, knee health, any of those things they're going to play a huge role in your deceleration, whether it's goat tying or tie down roping.
Absolutely. Very important to point that out and to see there are big differences in the events for sure. Obviously, we can see when they're taking place, but there's also a lot of similarity in some of the exercises we're going to be doing. Every single rodeo athlete is going to need to master pelvic tilt. It's going to need to have strong abduction because we're all of us are always adducting. There's similarities. There's big differences. That's why it's important to not just do the same workout that your buddy that's a calf roper is doing if you're a bareback rider, or vice versa. Or in general, it's better to do individualized exercise that's prescribed on an individual basis because it's addressing you and your strengths and your weaknesses and fixing those. There are programs that you can get in a general sense that will work on some of those things, so they just won't attack all of them if you don't have a coach. That being said, if you guys are needing a coach, if you need help staying accountable, you need help putting programs together, man, we're all in. We're here for you. We want to help. We have lots of options available. The individualized coaching is our bread and butter. We love being able to work with athletes that are ready and invested in themselves, ready to make changes, ready to take that next level. So hit us up. Consult's free. You get to ask as many questions as you want, get to chat with us for a bit, get to know us. We get to see, who's going to be the best coach for you. We want to pair you up with the best person that's going to suit you the most and be able to help you get towards your goals. So once we chat, we all kind of sit down and figure out where's this athlete going to be suited best. If you're right on the fence and you're just wanting to get started in fitness, we have an awesome app, Champion Living Fitness app. You can check out, downloadable for free in Google Play Store and Apple App Store. There are paid programs on there as well. So there's a couple free workouts, and then there's sport specific workouts for dang near each event so far, including bullfighting. That is up there. You guys can get and check out demo videos, explanations of all the exercises and reps, tempo, all that stuff. So that's there for you as well. Check them out. If you guys need help, reach out. We're here for you. Guys, you got anything else before we wrap this up?
Man, I don't think so. I think I think you covered it, but there's a lot more that goes into this than just riding workouts. And from time to time, I have people shoot me a DM and they're like, "Hey, bro, can you hook me up with some workouts?" And and I'm like, "No, I'm not going to hook you up with some workouts. No. Like it's just," and they're like, "Well, it's just some workouts." No, this is my life's work.
Yeah,
like this is what I wake up in the middle of night thinking about. I mean, this is what I do all day, every day. And so if you're like, I don't really need to have sports specific workouts, and you've listened to this episode, hopefully we've proved that it's not just us randomly assigning things. I mean, we are being strategic and as scientific as we possibly can be on how to actually elevate your game and use the time in the gym the wisest. So yeah, it's a lot more than just throwing some exercises together and calling it a workout.
Well, the bottom line is I don't care about the money necessarily. I want the investment. I want to work with someone that wants to make a change. I want someone that's invested in changing their life and is ready to be coachable. And the fact of the matter is, people that are not invested in themselves, that don't put the money first into what they're doing, they aren't going to get the benefits from it because they aren't going to do it. They don't hold it. They don't see it as valuable. So at the end of the day, we're not getting anything from our investment in them because they're not doing the thing. For us, we care about people doing what we're prescribing for them and seeing the differences in their life, whether that's rodeo or just general life. So there's a reason that we have standards on that sense, is because we want to work with people that are ready to help themselves, not someone who thinks that hey, that seems pretty cool, I want to be part of the crew. That's awesome. We want you to be part of the crew, but we have standards in our crew. And you've got to uphold them.
We want your results more than anything.
That's exactly right.
We want the end result is that you are better because of what we've done.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. And in order to get those, you got to be financially invested. You got to put your money where your mouth is.
That's a fact, because we've tried it the other ways. I've given this shit away for free. Turns out they don't do it
every time.
Yeah, no, every time.
Turns out they don't do it.
Guys, got to thank our sponsors. Beastmaster Rodeo have been with us since day one. You can use our discount code Champion Living, all caps lock, at www.beastmasterrodeogear.com. And Hui, we're always rocking Hui gear, guys. You can use our discount code Champion Living. It is not case sensitive. Save 10% on all your Hui at getyourhui.com. Guys, until next time, we'll catch you later.